Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So, the war of words continues between James Harrison and Joey Porter Sr. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon because Joey Porter Sr. thinks that nobody should have a different opinion of Coach Tomlin than he does. And that's all this is boiling down to. This is boiling down to, let me fix my table here. This is boiling down to Deebo doesn't think that Coach Tomlin was the greatest coach in the world. And Big Ben, again, he didn't say anything really derogatory about Coach Tomlin. He just came in and said, hey, I think it's better if Coach Tomlin went his separate ways, if the Steelers went their separate ways. And you get this big dramatic response from Joey Porter Sr. You know, he's basically shaking people down. You know, you're not allowed to have your own thoughts about Coach Tomlin. I mean, you'll never hear. See, if you want to debate somebody like, if you want to debate somebody like Joey Porter Sr., all you have to do is bring up facts, and the facts is as simple as this: in 19 years, Coach Tomlin did not develop a quarterback or was able to draft one. He inherited Big Ben. But I really believe, just like with everything else in America, it's not just about football. It really isn't. I believe that a lot of this has to do with race, just like everything else in America. Because if you look in the Steelers locker room, if you look at what Antonio Brown used to do, if you look at what George Pickens used to do, you never seen Joey Porter Sr. get upset or get animated, and they disrespected Coach Tomlin worse than anybody. I mean, especially Antonio Brown. He took a dump all over Coach Tomlin every chance he got. Rashard Mendenhall from time to time, but you don't see Joey Porter Sr. jumping down their throats and going after Big Ben like that. Oh, Big Ben is the worst guy on the planet. He shouldn't be talking. You know, and you're like, okay, well, give us an example. Why was Big Ben the worst person on the planet? He obviously wasn't found guilty of the incident with the girl. And then it turns into, oh, well, Big Ben wouldn't sign autographs for teammates' families. Really, Joey Porter Sr.? That's what makes Big Ben the worst person on the planet? I said this the other day in another video. I got to say it again just in case somebody's not watching. So I got to bring the situation up before I jump into the article. Excuse me. Every time I come on here, I have the sniffles as soon as the camera starts. Sorry. So James Harrison said, you broke the Brotherhood, bro. James Harrison responds to Joey Porter Sr.'s comments, and he did. He absolutely did. Joey Porter Sr. criticizing Big Ben grabbed the headlines, but his rant didn't stop there. Lost in the noise was a pointed jab at James Harrison. Porter took exception to Harrison's comments about Mike Tomlin not being a great coach, saying it was Tomlin who helped deliver him a borderline Hall of Fame career. No, it was Keith Butler. It was Dick LeBeau. It wasn't Coach Tomlin. And James Harrison has said this multiple times. That came from his mouth. Oh, let me guess, Joey Porter Sr., James Harrison is lying, correct? And you're going to say, well, Coach Cowher didn't even like you. He cut you. And James Harrison admitted under Coach Cowher, he didn't even know the playbook. And he admitted that was his fault. When you are dealing with Coach Tomlin and you're dealing with racist Ryan Clark and ESPN and guys like Joey Porter Sr., facts do not matter. The truth does not matter. It just doesn't. It's all emotion. They throw all the facts and all the truth out the window. And it's like, if you don't worship Tomlin, how dare you? If you boo Tomlin, how dare you? Joey Porter Sr., I would ask you 2 or 3 questions, which are undeniable. You want us to all believe it was going in the right direction with Coach Tomlin. You want us to believe that. No playoff win in 9 years. The last 5 playoff games, we lost by double digits. The Steelers' run defense is giving up an average of 157 yards per game. You want us to believe this is great football? Coach Tomlin in 19 years didn't develop a quarterback and couldn't draft one. And again, the Super Bowl winning roster that Tomlin won the Super Bowl with, every player but one player was drafted by Bill Cowher. You're like, you say the same thing a million, but I have to. You force me to. You're forcing my hand. He said I should be more loyal to him because my name, Deebo, I had 4 Pro Bowls, Defensive Player of the Year. So when you say these things, it implies that he gave me it, Harrison said Monday on his Deebo and Joe podcast. First, he didn't give me the name Deebo. Brett Kiesel gave me the name Deebo. He didn't make me the only undrafted player to ever win the Defensive Player of the Year and get paid $50 million. Again, implying that it was given to me undeservingly. It wasn't. But that as may, somebody had to give him the opportunity in the first place. Bill Cowher cut him multiple times. This is what the writer's saying. While Tomlin believed in him and gave him the opportunity to be great, Tomlin stepped in and immediately chose Harrison over Porter. He had the Steelers retain Porter. Had the Steelers retained Porter, it would have been a much slower ascent to the Harrison that we all know today. I'm not really buying that. I think Joey Porter Sr. was wearing out his welcome in Pittsburgh. Remember, Joey Porter Sr. spit on William Green before the Cleveland Browns game, and that's why James Harrison got the start. So, I think Joey Porter Sr. was wearing out his welcome prior to that. But again, James Harrison's absolutely right. Deebo is absolutely right. Joey Porter Sr. makes it sound like Coach Tomlin just gave it to him. That he didn't do anything to earn that. That Kevin Butler or Dick LeBeau didn't do anything for his career to make him the great player that he was. Kevin Butler. And James Harrison talks about Keith Butler all the time. That if it wasn't for Keith Butler, he wouldn't be the player that he is. But hey, Joey Porter Sr., that doesn't matter. It only comes out of James Harrison's mouth himself. On Cam Hayward's Not Just Football and podcast, Porter revealed that he spoke privately with Harrison after some of his comments last month. Those private conversations bled into public space after Porter decided to speak out last week. If it was recorded, you would have thought it was on and popping. I hung up, Harrison said. We brothers fight. The irony of it all is that Porter's initial beef was team drama being aired out in public rather than behind closed doors. He apparently chose to fight fire with fire. The week of the Steelers drama continues with 2 of the best pass rushers in franchise history going back and forth with each other. Something else that he said, Ben and I broke the Brotherhood. Harrison said, first, Mike ain't my brother. We broke the Brotherhood. You broke the Brotherhood, bro, more than we did. As he has done before, Harrison outlined what he sees as Tomlin's coaching flaws, including a lack of coaching tree, which is 100% accurate. Coach Tomlin has 0 coaching tree. And if Tomlin is the greatest coach ever, like racist Ryan Clark wants you to believe, and Joey Porter Sr., how come he was never nominated one time in 19 years for Coach of the Year? In 19 years, Coach Tomlin was never nominated once for Coach of the Year. If he's the greatest coach ever, right? Oh, just sickening already. As he has done before, Harrison outlined what he sees as Tomlin's coaching flaws, including a lack of coaching tree, a decade without a playoff win, and poor first and second round drafting. Exactly. And he's absolutely right. Harrison also defended Roethlisberger, highlighted his growth as a person since the early years when Porter was his teammate. 7 could be an a-hole. That's facts. He became the youngest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. Hell yeah, that's going to stroke my ego, Harrison said. But over time, he has matured and grown up. Yeah, because what 21-year-old doesn't act like a complete a-hole, right, Joey Porter Sr.? I mean, you're like 44, 47 years old. You still act like an a-hole, and you can never shut your big mouth. All things considered, Harrison took the high road in his response to Porter compared to some of his more explosive podcast rants over the last year. He said they are brothers, made sure to keep the focus on his riffs with Tomlin, and defended Roethlisberger while acknowledging some of his past flaws. You know what? It's just whatever. I'm so over Joey Porter Sr. It's so ironic that Joey Porter Sr., the biggest big mouth in Steeler history, has a problem with somebody else having an opinion about Coach Tomlin. Okay, why is my Chrome? Uh, here we go. So there's also, let me let the computer refresh a little bit because the page is getting whatever. It's like running slow. There's also been some talk about the Steelers bringing in TYREEK Hill, which I think is an absolute disaster. I don't even want to hear this talk. Of course, Mike Florio is bringing up this idiotic talk because that's what Mike Florio does. He has no good talking points. He has no valid talking points. He just, says things that he thinks are cool or whatever. It's like TYREEK Hill's the big name on the free agent market. And for anybody that didn't know, he was just cut today by the Miami Dolphins. They didn't try to trade him for anything. They just cut him. They said, okay, we had enough TYREEK Hill. Goodbye. Now, you think that Mike Florio, a Pittsburgh native, and somebody that, pretends to be so locked in and dialed in, you think that he would think to himself, after all the Steelers' history of drafting receivers who were nothing but problem childs in the locker room, you would think that he'd be smart enough to know, like, hey, TYREEK Hill is not the answer. I don't want TYREEK Hill as a Steeler. I want to build through the draft. I don't want big name free agents that are past their prime, that have probably lost a step, that are playing the game just for money because he has a lot of child support payments to pay from, multiple different women. He might be playing the game for the wrong reasons at this point. He's a problem in the locker room. He's a problem everywhere he goes. And guess what? I'm traumatized already. I had enough. I had enough of Steelers bringing in receivers like this. I had enough of the George Pickens. I had enough of the Antonio Browns. I had enough of the Chase Claypools. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody off the top of my head, but you get the point. I don't want TYREEK Hill in the black and gold. And it's like, listen, I didn't hear Art Rooney say that he wants to bring in TYREEK Hill. This is coming from Mike Florio, of course. So, Mike Florio, he's just unbearable sometimes with his takes on the Steelers. He really is. Let's jump into the article. Florio thinks Steelers could be in play for TYREEK Hill, can make a difference. Just typical Florio. It really is. He's just always saying the stupidest things. The Steelers could be in play. They got DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin III. No offense. He's not TYREEK Hill, Florio said Monday on his Pro Football Talk Show. Well, you know what, Florio? Do you even watch the Steelers? Because, fine, he might not be TYREEK Hill, but the Steelers need to go out and get themselves a number one receiver in the draft. We do not need to bring in TYREEK Hill. Nothing but a problem. There are some obvious complications with Hill. He has made his money off his speed and explosiveness, but he'll be 32 by the time the 2026 season rolls around, and things are significantly altered by the brutal season-ending injury he suffered back in Week 4 against the Jets. Hill dislocated his knee and tore multiple ligaments. That's obviously a difficult road to recovery. However, if he makes a full recovery, he's still a very dangerous receiver. To Florio, TYREEK Hill absolutely could be a short-term stopgap for teams in need of receiving help like the Steelers. TYREEK Hill will be, I believe, in demand because if someone can get TYREEK Hill and he's healthy, TYREEK Hill can make a difference for plenty of teams out there and have something less than TYREEK Hill at the receiver position in recent years. And he could end up being a difference maker in 2026. Is it a long-term answer? No. Is it a very viable 1 or 2 year fix for a team that's trying to grab the brass ring? Hell yes, Florio said. Florio, I don't know. It's just like, you think after what it's like we've had decades of problem child receivers, and you think you're so plugged into the Steelers, right, Florio? And you think that you'd understand this. Like, we don't need a player like TYREEK Hill. Football is a team game. It's not about one man. And if you bring one bad apple into the locker room, like TYREEK Hill, it could disrupt the rest of the team. Remember George Pickens? You know, the guys, I wear George Pickens' jersey all the time. Steelers' biggest mistake in their history was letting go of George Pickens. You know, and then he goes out there on a Monday night, George Pickens, he's either high or drunk. He's not running routes full speed. He's quitting on routes in the middle of the game, walking off the field like he usually does. But hey, let's listen to Florio. Let's bring in TYREEK Hill, right, Florio? It's just like, dude, do you hear yourself talk? You know, Florio likes to get street cred by saying the stupidest things imaginable. I don't want the Steelers to let TYREEK Hill even in the building. Article comes out about Art Rooney II saying he must be a happy man because they're keeping the report cards, like they're not releasing it to the public, what the players say about certain franchises. This is what amazes me about today's players, right? They're getting paid millions upon millions of dollars, and it's just not good enough. They complain because their families don't get caviar and steaks and get limousines back and forth to the games, you know, or they didn't have feet and hand warmers in the stands for family members. It's just like these players are unbearable. I say this all the time. And, you know, I do like certain players more than other players, but I really root for the helmet, the Rooney family, the city of Pittsburgh, its fans. The players, for the most part, are very, very unlikable. You know, they have a sort of this Hollywood, because these guys are making so much money now. A lot of them have this Hollywood attitude like, oh, F you. I don't give a F what you think. You probably live in your mom's basement. I don't care about what the fans have to say. F all of you. You know what? F you too. If it wasn't for the fans paying it so much attention to you and the media coverage 24 hours a day, you ungrateful morons wouldn't make the money that you do. So when you have this attitude towards the fans and the media, especially like when I see a player like Marshawn Lynch, fine, I know he's not a Steeler, but when he pulls the shit that he did like Super Bowl week when he was a Seahawk, like, oh, I ain't answering questions. I'm just here because they made. It's like, dude, you're just an idiot. You're a low IQ idiot. Do you realize why you make $20 million a year? You know why you make $20 million a year? Because that media that you hate so much gives you all the coverage. The media really makes this thing spin. And you think that you would understand. You'd think you'd have a little bit more respect that the media is just trying to do their job covering the team. You know, it's like these football players now, because they're making so much money, they have like this elitist attitude. Most of them, I'd say 95 to 98% of them are unbearable. They're just unbearable. Most of them are unbearable. So just like you don't care about me, I don't care about most of you. I root for the Rooneys, the city of Pittsburgh, the people that live there, you know, the helmet, and that's it. You know, you players make me sick, a lot of you. Friday's news broke the NFL won its arbitration case over the NFLPA that would prevent the union from formally issuing annual team report cards, ones that often offered scathing reviews of teams, especially of owner Art Rooney II and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But dude, like, what do you want? You want toilet paper made out of gold? What do you want? What do you idiots want? The owner's paying you millions of dollars a year to play a kid's game. The city loves you. The fans love you. Latrobe is packed with players. Latrobe is packed with fans in August to watch you practice. If you go anywhere in Pittsburgh, if you go to a restaurant, a nightclub, if you go anywhere, you're always greeted with a smile, a handshake. Everybody's happy to see you. And it's just not good enough. It's just like, you know what? Go to hell. Though the report cards and feedback will still exist behind closed doors and likely inevitably leaked out, Rooney's must have been happy about the NFL's big win. Am happy about it? Heck no. Transparency is always a good thing. The NFL seemingly won on a technicality of the reports not capturing a full accurate picture. though I'm not sure how that even be achieved without every player vote being shared, but the league has no interest in fixing the system and keeping them public. The more hoops required to share them to the outside world, the better it is for the league. It's like, you know what? After the 2024 season, the Pittsburgh ranked 28th out of 32 teams. Rooney's personal grade reflected the same a year earlier. He was named second worst owner. Really? Really, guys? He's paying you millions of dollars to play football. He's always polite to everybody. He's never mean to any. He doesn't criticize anybody. He would have let Coach Tomlin coach forever. The stadium's beautiful. The stadium's packed. It's like, oh, you know what? You didn't send a limousine to pick up my family. You didn't have steak and lobster at the stadium for my family members. It's like, what the hell do you want after the game? God, you players make me sick. Oh, yeah, because if I'm Art Rooney, I wouldn't give one shit if the report card got leaked to the public. I would laugh in your faces. I'd be like, oh, yeah, because me paying you millions of dollars to play football is not good enough. Right? Just shut up. Previously, Rooney shared skepticism over what the reports had to say. In 2023, he struck a more conciliatory tone about their value. We're always open to ideas about what we need to improve, he told reporters. I think we have an open door policy with our players and things that they see that they think we can improve on. Tell the players to shut the F up. You know why he probably didn't give an F the first time around? Because he probably was thinking what I just said. I pay you ungrateful morons millions of dollars to play football, and it's just not good enough. Again, any of these players, any of them, you could be the third string guy. They could walk into any restaurant in Pittsburgh. And they would be greeted, and they'd probably get their food for free, and everybody would be kissing their ass and want to have a conversation with them, and it's just not effing good enough. And that's why I can't stand most of you players. I really can't. We didn't get our asses kissed enough. Making $30 million. It's just $30 million a year. It's just not good enough. You didn't kiss my whole family's ass. I wish I could be Art Rooney's assistant when some of you guys came in there with the open door policy with your complaints. I would just tear you to shreds. I really would. I'd be like, oh, Mr. Rooney, why don't you take a break right now? You look a little fatigued. Let me deal with this moron. And I would deal with it. Most of these players are just unbearable. They're like little women. They should be cheerleaders, most of them. You're being a male chauvinist. You said the players are acting like cheerleaders. They're complaining about everything after making $20 million a year. How dare you? Shut up. Oh, these players, they're just so unbearable, most of them. Willie Colon had this to say, if Steelers revamp offense, Willie Colon thinks people are going to be surprised that it can hum. I agree with Willie. The production always wasn't there, and I think that was in large part because of the scheme. Colon said Monday on FS1's First Things First. Arthur Smith lives in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. We didn't get the best out of that. DK Metcalf, we saw a shell of him, especially late in the season. I agree. The Steelers right now have a number 2 receiver and they have a number 3. DK Metcalf is the 2. Austin is the 3. We don't have a legitimate number 1 receiver. And that's not a popular thing to say, considering how much money DK Metcalf is getting. He's getting paid one's money. But again, Art Rooney, they say that Art Rooney's cheap, right? Everybody says Art Rooney the second is cheap. He doesn't like to spend money. He's stuck in a time warp. The Rooney family doesn't kiss our asses enough. We're going to give him a poor report card. He had a chance to save himself $50 million and get rid of DK Metcalf, and he had every right to do it. And he kept DK Metcalf, who is obviously a number 2 receiver at this point. But hey, let's rip Art Rooney the second, or the third. I'm sorry. They're going to have to figure out the wide receiver 2 position. Well, that's wrong. They're going to have to figure out the wide receiver number 1 position. Who's going to be the guy outside DK that can have another impact? I think if they revamp this roster with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to be surprised that this offense can hum. Well, You know what? I do like the receiver. I like the receiver Pierce from the Colts. You know, if we can't, I don't know. He's a proven player in the NFL. What if you first round, if you draft a player, he's still not guaranteed to work out in the first round. And if you can't get that kid from Ohio State, the wide receiver, to me, I don't think there's any sure locks at wide receiver in the draft. You know, and I would rather have the safety, Caleb Downs. If the Steelers could draft the safety in the first round, I'd rather have the safety and bring in Pierce through free agency. That's just my opinion. Oh, sorry, Kevin Will, 11B. Steelers became the joke of the league. Too much drama. Well, we became the joke of the league because we suck on the field. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore your chat. I didn't see it there. Kevin Will 11B. We became the joke of the league. Now, we became the joke of the league because we give up an average of 157 rushing yards on the ground a game. And when, you know, 1 week we'll give up 250 rushing yards a game. Like 1 week we'll give up 250 rushing yards. The following week we'll give up 157. Everybody's like, oh, the Steelers defense rebounded. They're playing great. They only gave up 157 rushing yards today. I think the 2007, 2008 Steelers defense, I think like they averaged like 88.7 yards a game rushing or like 87. It was like some ridiculous number. Now it's a win for the Steelers when they only give up 150 rushing yards per game. God, the mighty have fallen. But Tomlin, he's a defensive genius. He's a defensive mastermind. Let's not forget the magical number of 299 yards versus the Baltimore Ravens. Let's not talk about that, right? Woo! That was a hard one to swallow. Yeah. Former NFL running back believes TYREEK Hill is the type of playmaker the Pittsburgh. It's like these guys will say anything to get their friends paid. TYREEK Hill, I do not want to see TYREEK Hill in the black and gold. I know this is not the Steelers organization saying this. It's idiots like Mike Florio and, you know, friends of TYREEK Hill. I don't want to see TYREEK Hill in the Steelers locker room at all. It's time to bring in legit players who are in their prime, not out of prime. He's going to ask for big money. The receiver from the Colts, Pierce, I think his name is Alec Pierce. I know his last name is definitely Pierce. Big target, 6'3", 6'4". Ate the Steelers. I was at the Colts game. He ate the Steelers alive last year during the Colts game. He's still young. Fine, you got to pay him a little bit more. That's fine. I do not want to see TYREEK Hill in a Steelers uniform. He's got domestic issues all the time, and that's the last thing we need. You know, him getting arrested during the season for beating up one of his exes, which he has like 9 of them. So it's always a good chance that might happen. But please, I do not want to see him in a Steelers uniform. James Harrison explains one advantage Malik Willis has over Will Howard. If I knew what Will Howard could do, I would feel one way or another about his stronger versus the other. What I do like about Malik, dude, he got in game, high pressure competition in the playoffs, and he did well. And I don't know what type of system Green Bay running over there compared to what Mike McCarthy did. If it's anything close, you got a dude that was over there doing it, Harrison said Monday on his Deebo and Joe podcast. At least we've seen Willis in real competition. The Will Howard thing, does anybody have any idea? Of course not. I mean, he was injured. He broke his finger. Willis has only made 6 NFL starts, and just 3 of them have come in the last 2 seasons. However, he did look good during that time. He only started during the 2025 season, came against Baltimore, and that game likely earned Willis a big paycheck. He completed 18 of 21 passes and 288 yards and was responsible for 3 touchdowns. While he didn't start, Malik Willis played the previous week against Chicago after an injury knocked Jordan Love out of the game. He looked impressive then too, completing 9 of 11 passes for 121 yards and a touchdown in an overtime loss. I mean, Malik Willis was a first-round draft pick. I don't know what to think. You know, I'll leave this one up to Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy, that's why we brought him here to develop quarterbacks and have an eye for scouting talent. So whatever Mike McCarthy wants to do, I'm going to trust his decision making. But Mike McCarthy does like Will Howard a lot. It's like everybody's really reaching. That's all you hear is like there's 9 different articles, and 9 different articles are saying Steelers are going to take this quarterback. After an intense backlash, Bill Barnwell offers new Steelers trade proposal to land quarterback Tanner McGee. Who the hell is Tanner McGee? What are we talking about? Jesus. A few days after catching flack for suggesting a Nick Herbig trade to address the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback position, long-term ESPN's Bill Barnwell doubled down on the black and gold trading for the same quarterback. This time, though, the longtime ESPN analyst pivoted with his proposed Steelers trade package to land Philadelphia Eagles backup quarterback Tanner McGee. In a piece proposing 11 trades across the NFL landscape, Barnwell has Pittsburgh sending a 2026 third-round pick and a conditional 2027 third-round pick to land a quarterback for first-year head coach Mike McCarthy to develop. Oh, whatever, man. You know, as soon as you say you're an ESPN analyst and you're an ESPN expert, nobody at woke ESPN is an expert at anything other than fake politics and race baiting. So it's just like you got to take ESPN with a grain of salt. ESPN is a total joke. So the Steelers aren't rebuilding, but they can't stay stuck in this quarterback cycle forever. 6 different quarterbacks have started games for the Steelers over the past 4 years, and only one of them, veteran backup Mason Rudolph, is on the 2026 roster. Barnwell writes, yes, the 2025 6th-round pick, Will Howard, is also in the building, but the track record of 6th-round picks who aren't Tom Brady turning into successful NFL quarterbacks is slim. Howard missed all of his first preseason because of a hand injury, which didn't help matters. Well, you know what? I'd rather go into this season with Aaron Rodgers and save our picks. If Aaron Rodgers is an option, I'd rather go in with Aaron Rodgers and go into next year's draft, not the 2026 NFL draft, because I don't think it's deep in quarterback. I'll wait till 2027 and go from there. Beat writer suggests next Sam Darnold. Don't you love all these beat writers coming up with who the Steelers should take at quarterback? Everybody's got like a different, they're just Malik Willis, this one, backup quarterback, blah, blah, blah. I would rather, if you told me it's not our franchise quarterback and it's just a play and plug guy for a year, if it's not Aaron Rodgers, I don't want him. And I was completely against Aaron Rodgers coming back at the end of last year till I gave myself a timeout and a deep breath and started to think logical. It's like, okay, he played for Mike McCarthy before. He's going to have a much better season under McCarthy than he would for Tomlin. He was still top 15th, 16th ranked quarterback in the NFL, meaning Aaron Rodgers. We got to bring Aaron Rodgers back for a year to bridge into our rookie that we draft in the 2027 draft. That's fine. All these other no names who are people are like, wait, you would rather have a no-name quarterback that you don't even know if he can even play over Aaron Rodgers? And I do worry about Aaron Rodgers making it through a full season in 2026 because of the weather and his age. But hey, listen, we'll do what we got to do. Trading away draft picks for guys that you have no clue who they are and they've been in the league 2 or 3 years. I'm not really fond of that at all. Mel Kiper Jr. explains why Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson would make a lot of sense for Steelers in first round. Dude, just shut up. It's like every so-called draft expert has the Steelers taking a quarterback, and I have the Steelers taking a wide receiver. Or Caleb Downs. If the Steelers could take a safety, I want the safety. I do. If they can get Caleb Downs in the draft and bring in Pierce at receiver and then get our quarterback in 2027, and in 2026, I want to go to the playoffs, but if we went 8-8, sometimes you got to take a step backward to go forward, and I'm ready to do that. This process should have started a long time ago, and I don't want to hear that it's Mike McCarthy's fault when the process starts and if it doesn't work out and we're not getting the results right away that we want, because Tomlin has driven this team into the abyss of mediocrity. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock. They had a chance to get Willis and pass and picked up Pickett. Oh, man. Pickett is the worst draft pick. And Pickett is the worst Steelers draft pick in history. Clifton Harris 7768 says next season Browns 11-6, Bengals 10-7, Ravens 8-9, Steelers 1-16. I don't think so, but I don't. You think the Browns are going to go 11-6 with Shador Sanders at quarterback? Be serious, dude. He's horrible, man. Will Howard will play better than Shador Sanders. I'm not a fan of Malik Willis either, so that's not an upgrade to me. I'd rather ride it out with Aaron Rodgers. Like, I love how everybody just, throws Aaron Rodgers off to the side. He was like in the tier of quarterbacks, he was a top 20 quarterback last year. He was like ranked 16 in the NFL. And I think under McCarthy, again, he's going to have a better year. I think they're going to have a better team. DJ Johnson's shopping Sherlock. He's laughing. Nah, I just can't, man. I can't. Malik Willis. Browns will be the Browns, the bottom. Exactly. I don't think Stefanski was the problem at all. I thought Stefanski was a really good coach. I think Schwartz is an excellent coach. I mean, the Browns defense is really tough. They're really good. They just didn't have a quarterback like everybody else. And do I think Shador's the answer? Absolutely not. I hope Shador starts the whole season next year. So when he goes like 1-16 and his numbers are completely abysmal, we can, the Shador underwear sniffers can stop blaming Stefanski, the racist. I mean, let's think about that too. Kevin Stefanski. All the Shador underwear sniffers are calling him a racist, this and that. You don't hear one other player on the Browns ever say that. Not one. But according to Shador and his worshipers, Kevin Stefanski is a racist. It's just ridiculous. I hope Shador starts the entire year so you could see how bad he is. I'm trying to find another article. Give me a minute. Oh, they're saying that it's likely former Steelers offensive lineman James Daniels released by Dolphins. Well, James Daniels should have stayed with the Steelers. He was having a better career here. David DeCastro had this to say: negativity seems to sell. David DeCastro comes out in support of Ben Roethlisberger. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I guess negativity seems to sell these days. I love playing with Ben, for Ben, protecting him. Was a big task. Ben, I just love his energy. I mean, Ben's the ultimate competitor, no matter what it is. DeCastro said on 93.7 The Fan, you miss getting those juices flowing, having a guy like that. That's what you need as a quarterback. That energy, that want to win. It was contagious. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock. I think the Browns had like 30 starting quarterbacks since 1999. It probably. DeCastro isn't the only one to come out in defense of his former quarterback. Marquise Pouncey defended Big Ben last week in a much more explicit fashion. DeCastro, unsurprisingly, had good things to say about Pouncey as well. He was a tremendous player, but just as what he brought to the locker room, the team, he was really the truest leader. If you will, everyone respected him tremendously. He was, like I said, the real leader of that locker room, DeCastro said. DeCastro calling Pouncey the real leader of the locker room is an interesting quote. It's not a slight against Roethlisberger at all. And the center position is one on every team hopes to fill with a true leader like Pouncey. But typically, teams strive to find a franchise quarterback to be their leader of their locker room. Roethlisberger certainly was the franchise quarterback, but some of his former teammates don't feel he was as much of a leader as he could have been. Well, Troy was the same way. Troy didn't like to be vocal and be a leader. He liked to lead by example with his play. Maybe Big Ben was the same way. Maybe he wasn't a talker. Everybody's personality is different. Not everybody wants to be a Joey Porter Sr., barking and doing this and that before a game with the emotional type stuff. Some guys just like to go out there and lead by example. And maybe that, you want your quarterback. Most teams want their quarterback to be vocal, but not everybody's the same way. Remember when it was Troy, I think it was like his last year or the second year to his last year, and the Steelers had a lot of young guys. They called themselves the Young Money Crew. And, Troy's like in year number 10, and the organization wanted Troy to be like an outspoken leader. And they were like kind of pressuring. He talked about it. And that's really not who he is as a person. Not everybody's like, wants to be like a Marine Corps drill sergeant. And some people don't have it in them. And maybe Ben just wasn't that guy. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock. You think TYREEK Hill worth a shot? No, I do not. I think the Steelers need to learn from their past mistakes. It's not about one man. It's about the team. Is TYREEK Hill what's best for the team? I don't think so. Is he dependable? No. Plus, he's coming off of injury. He always has domestic problems. That's the last thing we need, a guy with domestic problems who's got 6 or 7 babies mamas and at any given time could get himself in a domestic situation, and then he's not available for the game. He's a 32-year-old wide receiver. He's going to want big money. He might be playing the game for the wrong reasons at this point because he's got a lot of bills to pay. I do not want him in a Steelers uniform. We had enough with George Pickens. We had enough with Claypool. We had enough with Antonio Brown. We don't need TYREEK Hill. Completely over it. We don't need to go in that direction. Analyst likes wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. Listen, if the Steelers could get Caleb Downs from Ohio State at safety or Mekhi Lemon in the first round, I'm really happy. And I know nobody wants to hear. I know it probably won't happen. But Mekhi Lemon, if the Steelers draft a receiver in round 1, that receiver needs to be the wide receiver number 1. DK Metcalf is the 2. I know people don't want to hear it, but that's what it is. Yeah, I think so too. Analyst likes wide receiver Mekhi Lemon to Steelers in the first round, would excel in today's NFL. Mekhi Lemon is a player that is grounded through the catch. He's somebody that would excel in today's NFL, where if you just put the ball in his hands and give him room to operate, he's somebody that can create a lot of yards after the catch, which is something this Pittsburgh offense has desperately needed. So if you put him in that offense now with DK Metcalf, who of course has the speed, the physicality to stretch the defenses vertically, I don't know how the quarterback situation is going to work there, but I do feel good about the players that the player would be throwing to, Edwards said Monday on CBS Sports HQ. Yeah, I follow USC and Mekhi Lemon on the college level, the collegiate level. He looks like he's head and shoulders better than above everybody, the defensive backs, that is, I should say. But again, he's not proven it in the NFL. Do the Steelers want to bring in Pierce through free agency? Do they want to get a safety in the draft instead? I don't know. I really like Caleb Downs from Ohio State. And I'm a defensive guy, so I'm always going to lean defense. But Caleb Downs looks like a blue chip recruit. I love the way his serious approach is to the game. He's a pro's pro. Plays excellent on the field. I don't want to hear about comparisons to Troy Polamalu when the guy hasn't played it down in the NFL. Let's be reasonable. Let's see him play a couple games in the NFL before you start making that comparison. Troy is the rarity, and not just because of his physical ability on the field, because of his size. Troy Polamalu is not 5'10". He's more like a he's more like a 5'8.5" receiver with elite speed and jumping ability and instincts. Troy Polamalu is a super, super rare player. So, Caleb Downs, I'm not going to say he's a lot bigger because they're probably the same weight, but height-wise, he's got 2 or 3 inches on Troy. Troy is not 5'10". DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock. Like when you hit the streets interviewing people about the Steelers. Yeah, I'm going to do it in a couple weeks. I need to get out there in the cold. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. I need to get out there and interview people in the street about Coach Tomlin's departure and how they feel about it, to get some honest opinions. I needed another week or 2. get out there in the strip district and walk around. I like always talking to Steelers fans because everybody's got an opinion. You know, everybody has strong opinions. That's why I'm getting mad at Porter. It's like he gets mad because people are criticizing Coach Tomlin. Well, dude, if you don't want to be criticized, you know, don't play. First of all, football is the most critical sport out of all of them. There's only 16 games. Then the fan base is fanatical in Pittsburgh. Like we're all out of our effing minds. We all know that in a good way, right? So if you don't like to be criticized, definitely don't play football and definitely don't be the coach of the Steelers. DJ Johnson, Shopping Sherlock said, it's hard to get people to talk. Yeah, I mean, that is true. I do ask a lot of people to talk. Most people say yeah. A lot of people don't. I'm not trying to make everything racial, but I always try to get younger black guys to comment. And most of the guys will say, no, I don't want to. And I'm like, hey, I'm not, it's not a got you question. I'm not going to be confrontational. I always think, oh, maybe they think I'm going to be confrontational. I like to get an opinion from everybody, every race of person, men, women. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care who you sleep with. I like to try to get an opinion from everybody. And I've had guys make comments in the comment section like, I don't see you interview a lot of black men. Trust me when I tell you, I approach black men all the time and to be like, hey, can I get your opinion on this or that? Majority of the time, they tell me no. So I'm just putting it out there because I have been criticized for that in the past and it bothers me because I do try to get everybody's opinion and I always approach them and I explain the situation like, hey, I'm not trying to do a gotcha question. I'm going to ask you a set of questions. Do you want to get, and most of the time they tell me no. So again, not trying to get racial or political all the time, but I've been criticized for it. So I'm trying to set the record straight. Makes me mad. What does that mean? DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock. What is that like? Are you have a shopping channel? Like, what is that? What does your name mean? Yeah, I love Pittsburgh. I'm gonna end it with this. Long shot Steelers resign offensive guard Isaac SEUMALO. Things beat writer. The Pittsburgh Steelers have some decisions to make about their pending free agents over the next couple of weeks. Guard Isaac SEUMALO is one of them, and he's on our own Josh Carey's list of the 5 free agents the Steelers need to resign. However, beat writer Ray Filippato doesn't anticipate the Steelers resigning SEUMALO. Why? The combination of age and his injury history. I just think it's a long shot for Isaac SEUMALO, age 32, missed 7 games the last 2 seasons. Filippato said Monday on the North Shore Drive podcast. I just think it's a long shot that they want to bring him back and roll the dice that he's going to be able to get through the next couple of seasons. I don't know about that. The Steelers and Isaac SEUMALO are in a tough spot. On one hand, SEUMALO has been a really good guard for the Steelers when he's been on the field. Per Pro Football Focus, he was the 4th best guard in the NFL last year when it came to pass blocking, 78.5 grade. He wasn't as stellar as a run blocker, 68.2 grade, 28th, but he still was a top 15 guard per Pro Football Focus grades. That was actually an uptick from 2024 when he was a 24th graded NFL guard at 67.6. Isaac SEUMALO was quietly one of the best players offensively for the Steelers last season. He is also the most veteran player on the offensive line by far. He is the veteran leader on a very young offensive line, which is incredibly important for that unit's development. Carney wrote, I agree. I do like DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock. What are you saying? Email what? I see light email. What is that? Are you? I don't get. Are you asking me for my email? What are you saying? All right, I'll just I'm going to end it. So if anything, I'll just talk to you in the chat in a minute. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.